Fallout Season 2, Episode 4 is the moment the series quietly stops being about survival and starts being about escalation. There are no massive explosions, but by the time the episode ends, the show makes something chillingly clear. The wasteland is no longer testing its characters. It is preparing to crush them. Lucy crosses a moral and physical threshold by embracing Bafut as a survival tool. Cooper's past collides with America's darkest military experiments, and the final scene introduces a Deathclaw not as fan service, but as a warning. This episode doesn't scream danger. It lets danger stand there and breathe, and that makes all the difference.
Well, whatever it is, I think we can take it.
Before breaking down the ending, it's important to understand what Episode 4 is actually doing structurally. This is not a transition episode. It's a recalibration. Fallout deliberately slows its pacing here, allowing character decisions to feel heavier and consequences to linger. The show resists the urge to rush into action because it wants the audience to sit with discomfort. By the end, when the Deathclaw appears, the moment lands not as a shock but as inevitability. Everything leading up to it has already told us that the rules are changing. Lucy's arc is the clearest signal of that shift. Her use of Bafut is not played for humor, nor is it framed as a tragic mistake. Instead, it's treated with unsettling neutrality. Lucy doesn't spiral. She doesn't apologize. She adapts, and that's what makes the moment disturbing. Fallout has always been about how good intentions decay under pressure, and Lucy's evolution captures that theme perfectly. She isn't becoming reckless. She's becoming efficient. Her willingness to chemically enhance herself mirrors the logic of the wasteland. Survive now, worry about consequences later. This is the exact mindset that destroyed the old world, and Lucy is beginning to internalize it without even realizing it. What makes this transformation so effective is that the show refuses to moralize it. No one lectures Lucy. No ominous music tells us she's crossed a line. Instead, the episode lets her actions speak. Her reckless charge into danger isn't bravery anymore. It's conditioning. The wasteland is teaching her how to survive. And survival in Fallout has always come at the cost of something human. Lucy isn't losing herself overnight. She's optimizing herself. And that distinction is crucial, because it directly parallels the monster waiting at the end of the episode. The Deathclaw reveal in the final scene is one of the smartest decisions the show has made so far. Fallout understands its own mythology well enough to know that Deathclaws are not just monsters. They are statements. In the games, Deathclaws exist to humble players, to punish overconfidence, and to redefine what danger means in the world. You don't casually fight a Deathclaw. You plan around it, avoid it, or die learning why that was a mistake. By introducing one here without an immediate attack, the show is telling us that the narrative itself has entered a new tier of threat. To understand why this matters, you have to understand what Deathclaws actually are. Contrary to what some casual viewers might assume, Deathclaws are not the result of radiation mutating animals after the Great War. Fallout canon, particularly reinforced in Fallout 4, establishes that Deathclaws were intentionally created before the bombs fell. They were genetically engineered bioweapons developed by the United States military as part of an effort to reduce human casualties in high-risk combat zones. Instead of sending soldiers into deadly search-and-destroy missions, the military sought to deploy living weapons, creatures engineered to kill efficiently and expendably. Lore strongly suggests that Deathclaws were based on Jackson's chameleons, chosen for their adaptability and survival instincts, then enhanced with DNA from multiple apex species. Reptilian traits contributed armored scales and resilience, while large predatory animals likely provided mass, strength, speed, and aggressive behavior. The result was a bipedal predator standing up to 10 feet tall, equipped with razor-sharp talons, immense physical power, and the intelligence to hunt strategically. Deathclaws weren't accidents. They were products, designed, refined, and weaponized. And like many pre-war American innovations in Fallout, they worked too well. While there is no confirmed evidence that Deathclaws were widely deployed before the Great War, the collapse of civilization ensured their escape. Once containment failed, these creatures, engineered for survival, thrived. Over centuries, they adapted to nearly every environment in North America, evolving into numerous subtypes, such as glowing Deathclaws and mythic Deathclaws. Pack structures formed, alpha pairs emerged, legends spread. What was meant to be a tool of war became one of the wasteland's most dominant forces. This context completely reframes the Episode 4 ending. The Deathclaw we see is not just a monster wandering into frame, it is the physical embodiment of pre-war hubris returning to the present. And that's why its behavior matters just as much as its appearance. One of the most common questions surrounding this episode is why the Deathclaw doesn't immediately attack. The answer depends on which scene you're talking about, because Episode 4 presents two Deathclaw encounters that serve very different narrative purposes. In the flashback to the Sino-American War, Cooper Howard is ambushed by Chinese soldiers while wearing power armor in Alaska. A Deathclaw intervenes, slaughtering the soldiers and effectively saving Cooper's life. This moment isn't coincidence, it's function. The Deathclaw behaves exactly as a bioweapon would, targeting enemy combatants while ignoring a heavily armored non-threat. Cooper survives not because of luck, but because he exists outside the Deathclaw's immediate threat assessment. This scene is vital to understanding Cooper's relationship with Deathclaws. For most Wastelanders, they represent chaos and terror. For Cooper, they are reminders of a time when the United States believed it could engineer its way out of moral responsibility. That irony becomes devastating when we consider who Cooper is now: a ghoul, a living relic of the same system that created both him and the monsters roaming the wasteland. The present-day Deathclaw encounter at the end of the episode functions differently. When the creature appears on the New Vegas Strip and faces Lucy and the ghoul, the episode cuts to black. There is no attack, no immediate violence. This isn't restraint, it's assessment. Deathclaws are not mindless beasts. They evaluate territory, threat level, and dominance. The pause is not mercy. It's calculation. By ending the episode here, Fallout allows the Deathclaw's presence alone to redefine the stakes. Once a Deathclaw fight begins, the rules change, and the show knows that moment needs to be earned. This ties directly into why Deathclaws are portrayed as overwhelmingly strong in Fallout New Vegas. Their speed, damage output, thick hides, and pack behavior exist to punish complacency. Even experienced players treat Deathclaws with caution, especially alpha or mother variants that possess unique traits making them even deadlier. In lore terms, this reflects their origins as near-unstoppable combat units. In narrative terms, it reinforces Fallout's central theme: some consequences cannot be outgunned or negotiated away. And this is where Episode 4 quietly becomes brilliant. Lucy's chemical enhancement and the Deathclaw's genetic engineering are not separate ideas. They are reflections of the same philosophy. Both represent forced evolution. Both sacrifice balance for effectiveness. Lucy alters her body to survive the wasteland, just as the pre-war government altered Deathclaws to survive warfare. Neither path is framed as evil. Both are framed as practical, and that is exactly why they are dangerous. By the time the Deathclaw appears in the final scene, Fallout is no longer teasing danger. It is declaring escalation. The early episodes were about exploration, mystery, and endurance. Episode 4 marks the transition into confrontation. The war that ended the world is no longer a historical backdrop. It is actively reasserting itself through the choices characters make and the monsters that emerge. Fallout Episode 4 doesn't rush its story, but by the time the credits roll, it makes one thing unmistakably clear: survival is no longer the goal. Survival is just the entry fee. The wasteland is done testing its inhabitants. What comes next will not be about who can endure, but about who can adapt without losing what little humanity remains. And standing in the distance, watching silently, is a Deathclaw, a reminder of what happens when survival becomes the only value left.